It's 3 minutes to 8 and the political point discussion still continuing even as we are off air, but hopefully we'll manage to grasp it and bring this to a close. Now, I just want to read Article 115 of the Constitution because that's a bone of contention. And this is in regards to the amendment laws that were introduced by Jubilee, and of course NASA was against them. This is what the Constitution says. Part 1, it says, within 14 days after receipt of a bill, the President shall A, assent the bill, which he did not, or B, refer the bill back to Parliament for reconsideration by Parliament, noting any reservations that the President has concerning the bill. Again, we know he did not do that. I'll scroll to the end, and it says, if the President does not assent, we know that's what where we are, he did not assent to the bill, or refer it back to the period prescribed by Clause 1, or assent it under 5, the bill shall be taken to have been assented to on expiry of the period, which is 14 days. So after that, then within 7 days, it shall be gazetted. After the gazettement, it basically is now become law. So in short, what we're saying is with the amendments...
116.2.
116.2. Okay, let me go to 116.2, which is subject to Clause 3, the Act of Parliament comes into force on the 14th day after its publication in the Gazette, unless the Act stipulates a different date on it and on time. Now, question is, does it stipulate a different date? Honorable Chepkonga, does it stipulate a different date?
Yeah, it does. Let me tell you. You know, because I've read this amendment law, which Honorable Amalo has not done.
But for us to manage time, does it become law or not?
No, you know, there's nothing like yes and no, Michael, in law. You know, there's always an explanation in law.
But with this one, we can find out, is it law or not?
No, it is not law, because the preamble states very clearly that these amendments shall come into force upon publication of the same in the Gazette. There is no Gazette notice which has been published to bring this into operation. No, listen. The fact that it has been assented by default does not make it law. Neither can it be applied as we speak right now. Only the law becomes operational, and it is very clear. It becomes operational upon gazettement, upon it being gazetted.
All right.
Give me an opportunity. You know, Honorable Chepkonga is my very good friend.
I'll request to stick to the point.
And when Parliament, when Parliament together, and I was rated top in legislation, and he knows, and he came number two to me. And when you read the Bible, you don't have to have studied theology to understand the Bible. When it comes to matters of the Constitution, you don't have to be a lawyer to understand this. A well-educated person like Chris Omalo, when you read, and any other person. So we should stop this issue of, misdirecting. Honorable Chepkonga is misleading the public. And I want to say this. When you talk of Article 115, and I said it clearly, that the President, whatever he said, and you've clarified, he never assented, he never referred. What the President should have done, should have rejected that bill and give a memorandum based on what other people say.
On what basis?
On maybe more public participation. For instance, he has said it before, that let me send it back for more public participation because there was an outcry from the civil society, the international community, maybe because this was rushed. Remember, on the floor of the House, I objected this from the leader of minority when we said we should not reduce this publications period so that members have time to go through it, the public, for purposes of scrutiny, so they come and give their opinion as in line with Article 118 of the Constitution. It was shortened. It was rushed. The ideal thing the President should have done, should have rejected this and referred it back to Parliament for more public participation. What did the President do? The President misled the public. He never did all that. And he knows it very well, that within the 14 days expiry, it automatically becomes assented. So this is what I'm saying. Whatever the President said was actually misleading. And I want to tell the Kenyans, he calculated very cleverly, and he knew it's by now assented. And once the bill has been assented, it's now an act. When you go to Article 116, the law becomes operational upon gazettement. And it's specific. Let me finish. It is specific. It says, after ascending, within 7 days, it automatically becomes gazetted. And after the gazettement, for it to be enforced, just a minute. After the gazettement, they say, within 14 days, it should be enforced. unless that act stipulates clearly. When you talk about this act of parliament that Jubilee brought past, it actually stipulates that upon gazettement, it becomes operational.
Right.
So as we speak right now, when we go to the Supreme Court, this law, the Jubilee side, they want the judges at the Supreme Court to use it. Remember the Elections Act, it is the main law that is used when it comes to determination of the presidential petitions. Okay. And if you look at what Maraga did, the problem of this nullification when they talked about the process, which was more tight on the issue of transmission of votes. This is where the problem was. But right now, this law has changed. In other words, they are not looking electronically. It's taking us back to the manual way. And already, IBC had instructed their returning officers to carry those things manually to Bomas, where they were prone to voter stuffing. Everything has been put there. Thus, we have a problem with the figures.
Honorable Chepkonga, legal question, not a political question, legal question. If the opposition or whoever goes to the Supreme Court, can the amendments to the laws be used in court at that time?
Let me say this for one last more time, Michael, just to assist my good learned friend. Because he's learned, he has a PhD. You know, the amendment bill clearly states that this law shall come into operation upon gazettement. There is no gazette which has been issued. It is required by the Constitution that this law shall be gazetted. As we speak today, the president... It has not been gazetted. In fact, the president gave very good reasons. He said, I listened to all myriad of reasons, including Honorable Amalwa, in which they claim that surely you cannot change the rules of the game midstream to benefit yourself. And so he said, so that I do not appear to be benefiting from a law that has been passed, which I agree. He said he agrees. He said he did not say that he disagrees. So why should he write a memorandum to say that he agrees? Two, let me finish. Let me finish. On the question of transmission of results, that is a question that was settled. We have an amendment to Section 44, which you have Section 44B, in which we passed in Parliament. It clearly states that IBC shall put in place complementary mechanism for the transmission of results. And that's what they did. They ensured that all returning officers brought the physical Form 34Bs and 34As to the national returning officer. And you just need to read the law.
And you'll be clear.
And
all right, I think that matter settled.
It's not settled.
It's not
settled. You know, Honorable Chepkonga, at times it becomes mischievous. When you read Article 116 of the Constitution, which talks about publication, that is coming into force, it says, a bill passed by Parliament and assented to by the President shall, the word is shall be published in the Gazette as an act of Parliament within 7 days.
After assent.
After assent.
Yes.
This one automatically is assented. So within 7 days, it has to be published. Now, it's going to be enforced because it stipulates on that act that once it has been gazetted, it gets enforced.
All right, Michael, we shall wait for
Michael, a final one.
We need to settle this because we cannot play the part of Supreme Court. We'll wait for them to use it. We'll wait for the Supreme Court now to interpret.
In fact, Michael, I'm not trying to be Supreme Court, because those powers have not been given to us.
Correct.
Although you know I qualify to be one, by virtue of my experience.
Yes.
Two, you know, I just wanted to say, Michael, that one of the tenets of interpretation of the Constitution, it is very clear. There is no law which is passed by Parliament that shall operate retrospectively.
It does not work backwards.
It does not work backwards. And so, for Honorable Amalwa to claim that Supreme Court will interpret the law using the new law to apply to the elections of October 26th, that which happened on that day. It cannot be so, because it is very clear. In fact, all those provisions, Uhuru Kenyatta never took benefit of them. Neither did it benefit him.
We'll wait
in
for
fact,
the
it's to the contrary. In fact, to the contrary. Forget about. You know, let me tell you.
I will invite you both to studio after, when we have time, and after, if there is any, anybody who goes to the Supreme Court,
you can see
and we'll find out.
And Michael, there is nothing. And Michael, let me tell you, there is nothing abnormal with people going to Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
It is something that is anticipated. It is like taking breakfast. I mean, what is abnormal with taking breakfast?
All right, I need us to look at something else. Now, the NASA coalition will soon be a national resistance movement. This is according to the opposition leader, Raila Odinga, who says the new outfit will be the voice of the voiceless.
From today, we are transforming the NASA coalition into a resistance movement. We'll embark on a national campaign of defense of a legitimate governmental authority and non-cooperation with all its organs. 3, boycott the goods and services offered by the businesses whose benefit dictatorship is being established. 4, we shall convene a People's Assembly for the purpose of charting our way back to constitutionalism and democracy. 5, we shall mobilize all cooperative forces in the country to ensure that a fresh, free, and fair presidential election is organized within 90 days.
All right, so that's what the opposition leader Raila Odinga had to say. Honorable Chris Wamalwa, what is the national resistance movement? We are expecting a big announcement today. Is that part of what is going to chart the way forward? Or is this maybe something that only Raila knows what it is and you're also waiting?
In NASA, we do things collectively.
Okay.
As you know very well, that NASA is a coalition of political parties.
Correct.
Where we have Ford Kenya, which I belong to.
Which you remember,
which
yes.
we have ODM, we have WIPA, we have ANC. And the National Resistance Movement, NRM, Raila Amolo Odinga never said that NASA is going to transform itself to an NRM. I want it to be clarified. The NASA coalition is going to be there, but NRM is going to be an organ under NASA.
Like a branch.
Just like the way we have a parliamentary group under NASA. So we'll also have NRM. And the key objective of National Resistance Movement, by the way, it's not the way Honorable Chepkonga is saying. It's not Nyanza Resistance Movement as he is claiming.
No,
this is totally wrong. It is National
Militia.
Resistance Movement. And this movement, it is a way of coming up with some strategies that will help us to achieve our objective.
What is the objective?
Our objective is to liberate this country. We want to liberate this country, that this country is going to incorporate, we're going to have inclusiveness, as stipulated in Article 10 of the Constitution. We don't want this issue of just stamping or the issue of leaving other people outside. What we are talking about when it talks to NRM, it's going to do with the civil disobedience.
All right, now...
For instance, if we know there are some products in the market, maybe where the proceeds are being used to take us back in terms of whatever we have gained democratically, we can tell our followers, please, don't use these products. For example, if in one way or another we are convinced that maybe Safaricom products have contributed in terms of bringing back our democratic gains, we can say, we can easily tell our people, please, shift from Safaricom, go to Airtel.
Another provider.
If it's milk products, if it's Brookside or whatever, we say, hey, leave Brookside out.
Might those be part of the products, maybe your
even media here, you never know. Standard Group, if you've been misbehaving and we see in a way, you've been working in a way that maybe you're skewed to advance the dictatorial approach of maybe Jubilee or whatever, it can be
just to be clear, are those examples or are those actual products that maybe
I'm giving examples.
Okay, those
so
are just
I'm sorry if I use Standard Group. Don't be scared, your job will still be there.
No.
I was just giving an example. But what we are saying as NASA...
But examples that are relevant to them.
Eh? What I'm saying is today NASA is going to give a comprehensive statement.
As to the
so when we talk about
right.
civil disobedience, we've not specified which products.
Now that,
so I'm telling the people of Senate Group, don't be scared.
Okay, now that civil disobedience is on the cards, is that an admission by NASA that possibly they will let it be that Uhuru Kenyatta be pronounced as president and now begin to, you know, just be on the side of resistance?
No. Article 140 of the Constitution is clear about the petition. And the president mentioned it yesterday. We're not yet done. People are going to go back. Remember, and it doesn't have to be necessarily NASA, the civil society, or any individual. It can even be you. So what we are trying to say is this. Remember, there was a matter to be had in the Supreme Court before going for elections. What happened? A conspiracy was done. We are seeing the bodyguard of the Deputy Chief Justice being shot. We are seeing some judges, they could not maybe leave their premises. We are seeing some judges, they were given, they could not catch a flight to come back. So was this a conspiracy? Maybe this decision not to be done. It's going to be revisited.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're not yet done.
Honorable Chepkonga, what is the way forward for Jubilee, given that you still contest the fact that the country is divided, but the figures speak for themselves, and it definitely is not the country that it was before. We have half the country that claims the president, even if sworn in, is not legitimate.
Let me tell you.
Maybe legal, but not legitimate.
Let me tell you the question of legitimacy. Legitimacy is clearly stated in the Constitution. How you become a legitimate president. You obtain 50 plus 1, you get 25% in the majority of the counties.
And the election shall be in
and that is in accordance with the Constitution.
290 constituencies.
Now, when you have a group called Nyanza Resistance Militia, and it is saying that we are going to resist, you know, just read the word, the English, just look for the dictionary. You know, some of us who have learned a little bit of...
In all fairness, Nyanza is not made up of Nyanza.
No, but you know, of course...
That's an unfair statement.
No, but you of course know that the 4 counties which refused to vote...
It's everywhere.
Who used violence not to vote, come from Nyanza. I mean, you don't need a rocket scientist to tell you where they come from.
This thing happened.
You know, this was a militia...
Is not in Nyanza.
This was a militia that actively prevented people from voting or accessing polling stations. In fact, those who accessed in Kisumu West and Moroni voted because the materials reached there. You are showing us all those things.
No.
But let me say this.
Very wrong.
Let me say this.
Point of order. It's
resistance. Let me tell you. Just hold on. Just hold on.
It's a point of order.
No, there's no point of order. There is no point of order. This is not parliament. You know, Michael. You know, let me define to you what resistance means. It means disruption of law and order and society. It is not, there is nowhere in this constitution in which it states that we must disrupt law and order and society. You know, but you form an outfit that seeks to disrupt our lives. Because you are very unhappy, you never participated, you willingly withdrew, you decided that you don't want to be part of Kenya, and you want to be on your own.
The disruption is by choice.
And then we are told that we will go to the Supreme Court, and it does not need to be us. There we are going to use proxies. I mean, you're allowed to do so.
All right.
But don't pretend that you are not involved in all these things. You know, let me tell you, J.P. Morgan said there are 2 reasons for someone to do, or for a person to do something. One, there is the good reason and the real reason. When you hear Raila Odinga saying, please stay in your houses, do not come out, that is the good reason. But the real reason that he passes under the table, he tells them, please prevent those fellows from, you know, I have been a member of ODM. You know that I ran on ODM ticket in 2007. And so we know Raila, you know, I have interacted with him. And you know, there is never a time he has ever told his followers that they should not do anything, and they go against him. You know, to pretend to be told, oh, please stay in your houses, and then people actively are throwing stones at the police. Some are trying to snatch guns from the police. People are want to ban police stations.
All right.
People want to ban even houses of supporters
you've had your share of time to say.
You know, isn't that violence?
It's very unfortunate. You know, Honorable Chepkonga, the people of Anabkoi rejected him, despite him doing all the work for Jubilee. and a gentleman by the name Chepkut. In fact, in Parliament, we call him Daudi, who fell the Goliath. This is the Goliath I'm seated with here. And I want him to listen. If he has been using that principle of Morgan, Raila Amolo Odinga was very clear. He came out and he told Kenyans, boycott, don't go to the streets, don't do whatever it is. If somebody somewhere did that, that is an individual's decision. And Raila Amolo Odinga has no powers. Even if you are his followers, whatever you say, somebody can decide to go against it. He doesn't have ways of enforcing that if you do this, I'm going to do the APCT. No. But he came out openly, in daylight, he appealed. And the majority of the people listened. It is very unfortunate for IBC with this narrative of Jubilee coming up and saying, Nyanza NRM. If it was to stop elections in Mombasa, there was a lot of resistance in Mombasa, even in Kilifi, even in my own county of Trans Nzoia. So if at all IBC was to postpone these elections, but because there was a conspiracy with the Jubilee to come up with this narrative to start mapping Luo Nyanza, you see the narrative is coming up with, that Nyanza resistant militia. They've just done it in a way.
But how does IBC come into that? Because
no, it's IBC
really,
that suspended.
But they tried. They tried to have the elections there, but it was not possible. You'll agree with me that the violence would not have allowed.
What I'm trying to say is this. The resistance was not just in Luo Nyanza. It was all over. I've given an example of Mombasa. I've given an example of Kilifi. I've given some examples even in Trans Nzoia.
Michael,
so
must be given
very
right
wrong
of reply.
for Honorable Chepkonga to come here and start doing profiling and saying it is Nyanza. That is totally wrong. In any case, if other Kenyans listened to whatever Jubilee was saying, will not have had these 6.5 figures coming in, where the majority, they didn't show up.
We need to wrap up, gentlemen. We need to wrap up. I need your closing thoughts, Honorable Chepkonga. Your closing thoughts.
Let me tell you, Michael, in his own county, in which his own constituents voted, President Uhuru Kenyatta got close to 100,000 votes in Trans Nzoia County, which includes his own constituency. All polling stations were opened in Kiminini and Kimilili. All of them were opened. In fact, there was no resistance there. The only resistance that existed in this country on the 26th of October is from Luo Nyanza. And that's why we are saying this is Nyanza. You know, and let me tell you, now he spoke, I kept quiet. No, I don't know what is pricking. I don't know what is pricking his conscience. You know, when you are not speaking the truth, your conscience is always pricked. You are always pricked. You know, but I understand. I understand where the problems that they have. You know, they cannot stand the truth, and the truth is that 91% of the polling stations opened, and 91% of Kenyans were afforded the opportunity to participate or not to participate, and they participated in 25 constituencies. In Nyanza, they refused to participate. And they said, we do not want, and you carried that news, which people are saying, carrying stones and saying we will not, and you know the police even tried. They tried to open them, and you know, it became a question of, do we kill people so that we can allow them to participate?
I'll need you to summarize.
So I'm finishing, Michael. What I'm just calling upon my good friends is that the election is passed. Let us find a way of developing this country. Let us find a way of moving forward. This question of dialoguing, it is within the Constitution. In fact, one of the principles of the Constitution is consultation and coordination. There is nobody who has refused to consult and to coordinate with anyone, including Raila Odinga himself. We can consult the president at any time. But to consult the president on an election, on something which is fait accompli, you know, something that's already passed, there's nothing the president can do. You know, the president was a player like everybody else. There was a referee called Chepukati, who comes from Honorable Amalwa's constituency. And you know,
and that should not matter. I
mean, he qualifies. And you know, of course, you know, Michael, I'm the one who conducted his approval hearings. Yes. And which
and you agree that he qualified. So where
yes, he comes from? I'm just saying that he's a very good man. He comes from a good place called Kiminini, where Honorable Amalwa comes from. And he's in fact the member of parliament. I'm summarizing. Let me just finish.
It's a very
I want to congratulate Honorable Mr. Chepukati for conducting free and fair and credible election, even in spite and despite the intimidation, violence, and witchcraft that was applied on him. You know, I listened to Honorable Aisha Chumwa calling on witches and wizards in a county to bewitch the chairman of IEBC so that he does not see the figures that will be transmitted. And you know
I'll have to cut you short.
Cut him short, please.
Your summary is very long. It's too long. And time does not allow. Time does not allow. Please, your final
My final one,
sentence.
final. You know, when Chebukati was tallying the results, this is what he told us. And he's the only one, and these guys didn't participate. You know, he said what he has received
Summarize.
as Form 34A and 34B tallies with what is in the portal of IBC.
Okay.
So me,
Thank you.
I am at sea.
I'm a good student. I'll not do like him.
Where he gets it. No,
Yeah.
You know, of course, I was taught by
Honorable
lecturers.
Chepkonga, allow me to
Thank
finish.
you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I want to say that Chebukati was not a favor. He qualified for that position as the chairman. So you didn't do any favor.
I think we already finished on that.
I just said that as his member of parliament.
I did the right thing.
As his member of parliament.
And in fact, you know, you spoke to me about it, and I told you he did very well.
Honorable Chepkonga, allow him to finish, please.
Not that you are looking
And by
at it,
the
but
way,
you just
in
wanted to
NASA,
find out.
It was very wrong for me to have seen the president talking about witchcraft. To me, it's hate speech. Because in NASA, we don't believe in witchcraft. We are a God-fearing team.
Aisha
if it's
Juma.
witchcraft.
Aisha
So if
Juma
Aisha Juma, that's an individual. Aisha Juma is not NASA.
He's a member
That's
of
one
the
thing you know. So it was very wrong for the president, instead of him talking about reconciliatory, how we should be united under one country, he chose to go the reconciliatory, to go through the witchcraft way. But one thing I want to say is the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is there listening. It is our only hope. Please do not be intimidated. And I want to quote the same words of our Chief Justice.
And they should not be bewitched.
And he said this: they are not going to be bewitched. We don't believe in witchcraft, please.
Honorable Amalo, please finish.
So the issue is this: the Supreme Court, the eyes are on you. And our CJ, you said it clearly: the greatness of a nation lies in its fidelity to the Constitution, strict adherence to the law, and the fear of God.
Thank you,
so
gentlemen.
please, the ball is in your court. And lastly, I want to wish success to all the Standard 8 who are doing KCPE, and of course the Form 4's KCSE. We wish you well. We wish you all the best. And please, Matiangi, we passed a law in Parliament of ranking schools. We are waiting for you to bring the regulations quickly in Parliament, so that this time the schools must be ranked. And this is a bill that I brought on the floor of the House, and it was assented.
Thank you, gentlemen. Honorable Wamalwa and Honorable Chepkonga, thank you for joining us this morning. That is the political point, and maybe the atmosphere in the studio describes the atmosphere that we have, politically speaking, in the country.